Welcome to Poetry Notes. Number 1. This is Miss Hoover, and this is for Language Arts class. I want to start you off at the very first page of our poetry booklet. This is for our poetry unit. You need to know all of these definitions on this page. Okay, these are very basic definitions, and they're not something that I'm going to go over in class. A lot of them you probably already know what they are, but I wrote down the definitions for you just in case you did not. For example, poetry is a type of literature. We've talked about that. A poet, this is something that you need to make sure you realize. A poet is a person, not something you read. Figurative language is a big thing that we're going to talk about a lot over the next coming weeks and throughout the whole year. There will be lots of figurative language questions on your EOG. Again, a lot of this. Figurative language is when you have a phrase or a few words that are not supposed to be taken literally, like our idioms that we talk about every week. Irony is a type of figurative language. We'll touch on that this year, but we won't get really in detail with irony. Sound devices are also figurative language. A form is something you need to know. Most of these pages are either going to say this is figurative language or this is a form. A form is just a type of poem. What's the shape? What are the requirements for this kind of poem? Stanza is one of our big poetry words. That is a section in a poem that can stand alone. And then a couplet is a two-line poem that usually rhymes, but it could also be a section of a poem, as you'll see later. Okay, on to the second page in our booklet, which is all about meter. Meter is one of the hardest things to do. So we're going to put a big fat star on this page because it is really hard. Okay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so it's a bit easier for me to write. Alright, first we're going to fill in these blanks. Meter is the poem's rhythmic. I'm writing with my finger. It's not going to fit. Work with me. This is a rhythmic pattern that is determined by the number of stresses. That's an E. Or beats in each line. Sometimes we could call these accents. If you play music, you know that a lot of times you have notes that are accented so that they stand out. Well, we do the same thing with words. And we measure meter in something called feet. Not like your feet on your legs, but feet as in meter feet, rhythmic feet. Okay, just like in music you have bar lines and you have different patterns in the music. Well, same kind of thing here. These are two symbols you definitely need to know. The stressed syllable symbol and the unstressed syllable symbol. The stressed is a line, a little slash, kind of like an accent mark in Spanish. And the unstressed syllable mark is a little tiny U that you would put over the syllable. Okay? Do you remember in elementary school when we used to have to clap out our syllables like syllable? Well, we get to do the same thing here in poetry. There are 3 patterns of meter that I want you to try and memorize. Oops. They are the I am, which is an unstressed syllable, and then a stressed syllable, as in the word away. I'll say that one again. Away. The way is more accented than the part of that word. A dactyl, kind of like a pterodactyl, like it's flying, so it's got wings. It's 3 syllables long. That pattern is a stressed syllable and then 2 unstressed syllables, like the word desperate. We emphasize the des, but not the perret. Okay? And a spondee is really fun because it's just entirely made of stressed syllables, like dead set. 2 different words or syllables that are both accented in short order. A lot of times this will happen with smaller words, and the unstressed syllables come about more often in longer words. So when you've got the line, the cat sat on the mat, you can see from the example that it's made up of 3 different I ams. Okay, the first one is the cat, second one is sat on, and the mat. Each one has an unstressed syllable and then a stressed syllable. When you say it out loud, when we read a poem out loud, we would go, the cat sat on the mat, just like you're reading to a kindergartner. Once again, meter is something that's very tricky for a lot of people, and so I am not surprised if you don't get it right away. This is something that we're going to talk about in class more tomorrow. Okay, the last thing I want to show you today is rhyme and rhyme scheme. This is a type of figurative language. Well, it can be lumped in there. Let me zoom in so I can write and you can kind of see it. Alright, rhyme are words that sound we all know this, sound the same, and have the same ending sound. Okay, like cat, hat, mat. All of those words rhyme. Lots of times in poems, rhyming words are going to be the very last word in the line. Okay? For example, this is a stanza from the poem The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and it goes like this. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. As you can see, we've got lots of words here that rhyme. Door obviously rhymes with door. It also rhymes with more. It does not rhyme with spoken, because they have a different ending sound. However, spoken does rhyme with token and unbroken. So there, in this case, there are some rhymes inside of the poem as well. Okay? Now, when we get to rhyme scheme is the pattern of rhyme in a poem. When we look at rhymes, we a lot of times will give each rhyme a different letter. For example, in this raven example, we always go with the last word in the line. Always. Not a rhyme inside the line, but always the last one. So the very first line we have here is spoken. We're going to give that an A, because A starts the alphabet. We want to be obvious. Now we go to the next line. Door. Does door rhyme with spoken? No. So we give it a B. Now we go to the next line. Door. That's the exact same word. So that also gets a B. Now I go to the last line. Nevermore. Does that rhyme with spoken or does that rhyme with door? Obviously it rhymes with door, so that gets the same letter as door, which is a B. So for this poem, for the Raven, our rhyme scheme would be A, B, B, B. We can assume, we can inference that the rest of the poem is going to follow the same pattern. That the first line of every stanza is going to be different than the other 3. Hopefully they'll all be the same A, B, B, B pattern, but we could go on to different letters. I've given you 2 very common examples of rhyme schemes here at the bottom of the page. A, A, B, B, A, A, B, B is very common, where 2 lines that are next to each other rhyme, and then the next 2 lines rhyme, and then the next 2 lines rhyme, and then the next 2 lines rhyme. There's also this pattern of alternating rhyme called A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. We'll learn in a couple days exactly what kind of poem this is from, but this pattern of alternating rhyme is also very common. So, tomorrow in class we're going to be talking a lot more about rhyme and rhyme scheme and meter. We're going to be doing some fun activities to help you really get this concept under your belt. That's all for Poetry Notes Part 1. Come back tomorrow for Poetry Notes Part 2 and Part 3.